souls and names. Broken futures, shattered dreams. End of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. This is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, February 5th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. As usual, a lot to get to today. I'm trying to figure out where to put my notes over here on my desk. Okay, what do we got today? National Prayer Breakfast in D.C. Take a look at that, what Trump's saying there. Just the height of hypocrisy, in my opinion. We'll take a look at what all they're saying at the 74th National Prayer Breakfast in D.C. today. What else do we got? The economy's crazy. These markets are insane. Everything down. Bitcoin fell off a cliff, it looks like. We'll look at that. Gold, silver down today. Take a look at those. Yeah, it's crazy. Take a look at some of this economic news. Layoffs in January were the highest to the start of a year since 2009, the Great Recession that we all remember, know, and love. Did they launch this? Let's see. Trump's launching live trumprx.gov today, allegedly. I guess it is up. We'll take a look at that. And more, well, a little bit. We got a little bit on immigration news, illegal immigration news. We have a whole lot on Epstein to go through again today. I know it makes me want to throw up too. So sick of looking at all this stuff. But we're going to go through it, continue to expose it, because that's what needs to be done. And so that's what we're going to do here at Weaponized News. Well, what 3 million plus, 3 million plus files, plus video, audio, and picture images. I mean, there's a lot to go through. But we're gonna show you some of the new characters that may not be as famous and well known, but they are entrenched in the establishment and making decisions, and it's speaking to the overall bigger conspiracy. And so we're gonna go through all of that. Man, I got a lot on Epstein today, actually. So very disturbing stuff. We have geopolitical news today as both sides, America and Iran and Aardvark land, I guess all three sides, all saber rattling. What's going to happen there? We got other geopolitical news. What our nuke agreement with Russia has expired, and so we're renegotiating that, as well as trying to negotiate a nuke deal with Iran. Apparently, the START treaty ended at midnight. So, yeah, we got to do something, or let the nukes fly. Is it time? Is it time to just let the nukes fly and find out if they even have the capability that they've been promising us? Global thermonuclear war, all that fun stuff. And other geopolitical developments, the American technate, Cuba news, Greenland news out of the World Government Summit, day 3, the last day as they close up that Maniacs Convention. They did bring in a demographer there, and we'll take a look at that, talking about an inverted population here now. I think we do have an in the emails too, in Epstein emails talking about global depopulation with Bill Gates. And we have one of those. The population pyramid now is inverting, according to this demographer expert dude at the World Government Summit. So the depopulation agenda is going well. It's going well for these bastards. And of course, the Aardvark land genocide continues. We got reporting about that as well for you today. Let's take a look at this day in history. On this day in history of February 5th, going back to the year 1428, we saw King Alfonso V orders Sicily's aardvarks to attend conversion sermons. Yeah, and we're still hanging on that. Not what we're still hanging on. Yeah, they're evil, banned everywhere, running around synagogue of Satan, but somehow, some way, we're going to convert them to accept Jesus Christ as their savior. I guess we still have to hold out. Do we? Maybe we don't. I don't. So they were even trying 1528. It's not really working out so good for us. 1597. I'm sorry, that was 1428. 1597, 26 martyrs of Japan executed. A group of early Japanese Christians known as the 26 martyrs are killed by the new government of Japan for being seen as a threat to Japanese society. In 1783, on this day, saw a major earthquake in Italy, kill an estimated 30,000 people. Quite a big earthquake death count there. In 1904, on this day, everything comes full circle, right? Cuba, or American occupation of Cuba, ends. Well, we're getting ready to occupy them again here very soon. Very soon, it seems. In 1917, on this day, Pershing's troops leave Mexico. The last of American troops commanded by General John Pershing leave Mexico. President Carranza will be assassinated within the next year. In 1923, on this day, we saw mass arrest of socialists and communists in fascist Italy. Kind of goes that way, right? In 1969, on this day, the U.S. population reaches 200 million. What are we up till now? 320, 350, something like this, not including illegals. In 2019, on this date, then Pope Francis admits for the first time that clerics have sexually abused nuns. In 2024, on this day, King Charles, author of The Great Reset, made the public announcement that he was diagnosed with cancer. We're still waiting for the cancer of the monarchy to be removed from the world. And in 2025, on this day, just 1 year ago, President Trump signed an executive order banning transgender women from competing in female sports. And on this day in our civil liberties history, in 1992, free speech and the right to hate. A Bill Moyers television discussion on this day explored the difficult First Amendment issue of free speech and hateful messages in a segment called Hate on Trial. Morris Dees, head of the Southern Poverty Law Center, drew the line between speech and action, arguing that we have a right to hate, we don't have a right to hurt. The debate focused on the activities of the aardvark supremacists, on white Aryan resistant groups. Maybe we've been looking at the wrong supremacist groups this entire time. Just saying. I.e. Epstein files, which reportedly sent a member to Portland, Maine, where he incited local skinheads to murder a 27-year-old Ethiopian student by beating him to death with baseball bats. Yeah. And with that, here is our segue to the news for you. So very Christian of Trump here. And when he's talking about, and I don't ever hear him mention Jesus a whole lot, but here's Trump saying, we knocked the hell out of them the other day in Nigeria because they were killing Christians. Very Christian of them at the National Prayer Breakfast today in D.C. of Trump, talking about killing Nigerians there.
ISIS rebuilt, and they have a little bit of ISIS now again, and we knocked the hell out of them the other day in Nigeria because they were killing Christians. You know about that. They were killing Christians. So you can't do that. When Christians come under attack, they know they're going to be attacked violently and viciously by President Trump. I know it's not a nice thing to say, but that's the way it is.
No, Jesus would support that, right? I mean, what kind of twisted, sick freak world are we in here now? And hey, they'll spit on you in aardvark land if you're a Christian. He looks the other way all day. He loves that bullshit. So here you go. Again, what God is he talking about? It's not the God of Jesus of Nazareth, that's for sure. Here it is. To be a great nation, you have to have religion. You have to have faith. You have to have God. Again, it's a different God than most of these Christians are thinking that he's talking about. I truly do believe.
I've always said, you just can't have a great country if you don't have religion. You have to believe in something. You have to believe that what we're doing, there's a reason for it. There has to be a reason for it. I've always said, you just can't have.
Yeah, the reason for what they're doing is to build the American technate for a scientific dictatorship, total control. Let's take a listen to Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War here now. It's a very twisted, they twist everything. They invert everything.
And like Christ, in earthly ways, our brave warriors are not called to appease the world. They must confront it. We know we fight a physical battle, but ultimately grounded, as the president said, in a spiritual battlefield. Not only are we warriors armed with the arsenal of freedom, we ultimately are armed with the arsenal of faith, and have been from the beginning. Just as George Washington knelt in the snow at Valley Forge, appealing to heaven for guidance and protection, so too our warriors do today. You see, we talk about 1776 and 250 years, and that is rightfully fitting to do. But at the War Department, we're a bit of a 1775 department. We know that you can't have the freedoms of 1776 without the willingness to fight and defend it.
What a load of shit they're feeding us. U.S. churches send more money to aardvark settlements than to Christians living in Nazareth, Jesus' hometown. Here's Tucker talking about it. Not a peep out of the Trump administration, the big Christians that they are, right?
How much aid, how much money do Christians around the world send to Christians living in Nazareth?
Very minimal.
Very minimal?
Yeah.
How, really?
You know, the Anglican Church, of course, we have partners around the world.
Yes.
And especially like in the States, we have the American Friends of the Diocese of Jerusalem, Anglican, and they're doing fantastic support. But if you kind of compare the amount of money that comes to the other side, we are talking about a drop in the ocean.
Really?
Yeah.
So Christian churches in the United States send more money to, say, Jewish settlements in the West Bank than they do to Christians in Jesus' hometown of Nazareth?
That's not a secret.
What a freaking con job. What a con job these aardvarks, these evangelical Christian Zionists are pulling, man. Truly disgusting. America is and always will be one nation under God. Again, what God are they talking about? They leave out all the occult, esoteric underpinnings of the founding of this country in the first place. Act like none of that even exists. Act like this whole secret society network of evil isn't running in the background. White House faith wins. Listen to this. We got a little bit more. Trump's spiritual advisor, Paula White, this maniac, mega preacher, con artist woman. Take a listen to what she has to say here.
It is my great honor to introduce, and I think I can say this not as senior advisor, but as his friend, the GOAT. The
GOAT of Mindy's. They're just throwing satanic iconography in our face, laughing at us. For those that don't have eyes to see and understand and read between the lines of what they're actually talking about here, wake the F up.
Greatest of all time, the greatest champion of faith that we have ever had in the executive branch, the 45th and 47th president.
I can't even take it. What a load of bullshit. You gotta be some kind of damn blind Christian to believe this bullshit. I can't take it. Under the economy now. So that's the fraud they're running on Christians today in DC. They're all occultists. That woman, Trump, they're all occultists. Get it right. Here's the Maine flag. Maine, that country way up there. No, you don't hear about Maine much, right? But Maine now, Maine flag for $45.6 million in bad Medicaid payments from one program. And so like every program they look into is fraud upon fraud upon fraud. Still no one gets in trouble. Still pay your taxes or you'll get in trouble. Let's watch this report.
According to multiple reports in the Maine Wire, African immigrants who do not speak English in many cases and have no experience in healthcare are allegedly stealing millions of taxpayer dollars from the state by taking a 50-hour course to care for elderly Americans and then billing the government. All of this, according to our next guest, Steve Robinson, the editor-in-chief at the Maine Wire, and John Featherston is a columnist at the Maine Wire, the only news outlet in the state of Maine that's actually interested in this story. It's great to have you both back on. Steve, are these people actually providing the care and then billing the government, or is this similar to what we've seen in Minneapolis with the Somalian fraud?
In many cases, no, but in some cases, unfortunately, yes. They're providing some semblance of care, but it really boils down to neglect and abuse. As I told Sean Ryan on his podcast, it would be better if the patients were fake in some of these homes, because the conditions that they're living in that have been described to me by eyewitnesses and people familiar with these operations are inhumane and deplorable. But I think it's important to understand that there's a diverse array of fraudulent operations happening in Maine. We have home care agencies that are essentially just PO boxes that send invoices to the Department of Health and Human Services and get paid. But we also have the residential care facilities where actual houses are being operated under the guise of providing care for disabled adults. Wow. And there are real adults in those houses, but they're cutting corners and they're overworking their employees. So you have employees sleeping and neglecting the people they're supposed to be taking care of. So we have multiple different programs, multiple different forms of fraud. And just last week, the Office of Inspector General at the Department of Health and Human Services issued a report saying that in 2023 alone, Maine improperly billed $46 million worth of Medicaid payments to the federal government. And this was one program,
$46
one
million.
year.
Wow.
Section 28, $46 million.
Okay.
And they're looking.
Yeah, you're not getting that money back. They already left. So yeah, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, those are like the big cryptos, right? All down, fell off a cliff today. Where's what's Bitcoin? Let me look at the live numbers right now. Pretty crazy goings on in these markets. So Bitcoin right now fell off a cliff, went below 64,000, back up, riding right at 64 right now. And then gold and silver took big hits today as well. Gold right now trading overseas 4,700 range, and silver 68, almost $69 range. Everything fell off a freaking cliff today. Ola Thomas from Alpha Mega Energy wanted me to tell you his prediction. This is not financial advice, and this is his prediction, not mine. But he wanted to say, he said, in fact, Black Swan, in fact, it is inevitable. It's coming. 100% guarantee it's coming. This is him. Put it on the screen for you. He says it's a matter of when, not if, only when. And we'll soon see if something drastic is done. The mother of all swoons. You need to report this. And he's talking about the paper leveraged future markets for gold and silver are vast, with nominal values extending into the hundreds of trillions of dollars, dwarfing the physical market by ratios of 100 to 1 in some analyses. While physical gold capitalization is estimated at around $11 trillion, the paper market, futures, options, and ETFs has been estimated to be as high as $200 to $300 trillion. He says Alpha Omega Energy, his company, right, issues worldwide financial caution, black swan alarm, gold and silver paper markets headed to zero. Paper markets, gold and silver paper markets headed to zero. We'll see how Thomas's prediction works out there. I reported it for him as he asked. Yeah, Bitcoin drops 13%, breaking below 64. You can see that right here. Here's gold. Insane volatility again in these precious metals markets. We've never seen anything like this in our lifetime. Here's silver. You can see literally fell off a cliff. Boom. Right? I mean, look at that volatility from 116 high to $70 low in the matter of a week, not even a week. So that's just obviously manipulated, because it doesn't, free markets don't move that way. Sorry to tell you here. So heavy manipulation going on in all of these markets. Hundreds of Nazi-linked accounts discovered at Credit Suisse, lawmakers say. Report out of NBC News. Maybe they can look at the guys doing genocide right now. You know what I mean? Just saying. UBS was acquired, which acquired Credit Suisse in an emergency takeover in 2023, said last year it was working to shed light on Nazi-linked accounts held at its former competitor. We're still worrying about Nazis from World War II. Like, seriously? Layoffs in January were the highest to start a year since 2009. Not good. Not good. U.S. employers announced 108,435 layoffs for the first month, up 118% from the same period a year ago, and 205% from December 2025. The total marked the highest. We covered that. Yeah, it's not looking good in the economy here on Main Street, but they just tell you everything's wonderful. We're in the golden age. Don't be a conspiracy and all this bullshit. Because, hey, you should be happy. You can buy your drugs right from the government now. TrumpRx.gov has launched. Here is the website. They're saying it's going to launch. Well, turns out it did launch. TrumpRx.gov. Don't do drugs, kids. Buy them from Trump instead. Find the world's lowest prices on prescription drugs. You can put it in there, give it a try. Let's see. Let's try Ozempic. Let's take a look. So you can take the synthetic Gila Monster Venom and go ahead and get 66 to 81% off the price there, and get Ozempic face and look like a sucked up junkie. So there you go. Very nice from Trump. Let's take some more. Let's look at this a little bit more. Yeah, we know they're screwing us. Comparison in the pricing here. Yeah, we're getting screwed. Thanks to Trump, the days of big pharma price gouging are over. Leveraging the full weight and power of the United States of America, the president has ensured every American gets the lowest prices on prescription medications in the developed world. They made America gold there. You like that? So gaudy. Oh my gosh. So yeah, if at all possible, and your life doesn't depend on it, don't do any of these drugs, honestly. I mean, that should be the message, but hey, I guess you get them cheaper. And there you go. There you go at the end. Trump RX and the Golden Eagle. Isn't that wonderful? So buy your drugs from Trump, and we're going to kill all the drug traffickers coming in this country. Better believe it. On to where are we at here now? A little bit about illegal immigration. We're still not getting the mass deportations. We have had a lot of chaos. President Trump says, I'm going to always be with our great people of law enforcement. Let's watch this. So yeah, lick the boot there. No, a cop could walk up and shoot you right in the face, and Trump's going to back them, as we've seen.
We allowed in our country, I'd say 25 million people with an open border policy for 4 years under Biden. People, the likes of which no country would accept. And we're getting them out. But we've gotten a lot of them out. So crime now in Minnesota, crime now in Minneapolis is down. Crime in all cities is down. Maybe we can use a little bit of a softer touch. But you still have to be tough. These are criminals. We're dealing with really hard criminals. I've called the governor, I've called the mayor, spoke to them, had great conversations with them, and then I see them ranting and raving out there, literally as though a call wasn't made. I'm not happy with the two incidents. It's not, it's both of them. I'm going to always be with our great people of law enforcement. ICE.
There you go. So it don't matter. They'll shoot you in the face. Trump's backing the blue, brah. Don't tread on me, brah. Federal judge blocks immigration agents from making a warrantless arrest in Oregon. Report out of Oregon Capital Chronicle. Federal judge yesterday issued a ruling blocking federal ICE agents from making warrantless arrests in Oregon, joining DC and Colorado with similar rules in place. The decision is based on MJMA versus Wamsley, a lawsuit the Portland-based Innovative Law Lab filed last year against federal immigration agencies on behalf of two people, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents detained in October without a warrant. Today, the judge ruled that ICE can't just grab people and figure out the justification later. Well, what the hell kind of tyranny is this? I guess you can't. Sorry, feds. Sorry, Trump. I guess this judge says you can't just grab people with no warrant. Huh? Yeah, they don't care. They're literally kidnapping presidents of countries. You think they care about some stinking warrant? Or what this judge, even for that matter, even has to say? We'll see. We'll see. The U.S. Justice Department Criminal Civil Rights Unit that investigates police misconduct has lost about 2/3 of its prosecutors and has scaled back excessive force investigations. That's right. The cops beat the hell out of you. We're pro police brutality here now because they're good Christians. They beat the hell out of you, maybe even kill you, and Trump backs them. It don't make a difference. It don't make a shit lick of difference to him. You understand? Under Trump's administration, lawyers were told to pursue cases only in egregious circumstances, such as death in custody. That's a report out of Reuters. So, yeah, they won't even care then. So that's your due process and equal rights for all. Back to blue. They can literally kill you and Trump will laugh in your face. I guess I messed this one up. I should have had it in the public health section with trumprx.gov because it is public health. This Spanish doctor here, Marino Barbacid, Spanish biochemist, announced a triple therapy that wiped out pancreatic tumors in mice without resistance, but the Spanish government wouldn't fund his research. He crowdfunded it on the internet. But Spain is legalizing this. Well, they're giving amnesty, right, to 500,000 plus illegal aliens in Spain. So that's going to take up a lot of public funds. Your cancer can wait. We got illegals to cater to. You understand? So the Spanish government prioritized legalizing 500,000 plus illegal aliens. The government failed to fund his cancer research. So crowdfunding stepped up and he was able to raise 841,000 euros from 18,000 plus donors in under 24 hours. It's now being reported he's raised up to 1.7 million euros. And here's the guy, looks, bless his heart, if all this is genuine, he looks like he's in bad shape here with this birthmark. Something's going on with him. Anyhow, I think it's worth taking a look into his claims. And so it looks like he's going to have enough funding to continue his research. But we always hear, oh, they cured cancer. Where's that at? Oh, who cares? You know what I mean? Take another miracle. You're like, but they just said they cured cancer. Shut up, stupid. Take another miracle. You know what I mean? And so how many times have we seen these reports? It's a blip on the radar. Whatever happens to this dude, the government won't fund them. And they're like, shut up. Take another miracle. That's where we're at with public health. But I wish him nothing but the best and hope that his research can help people. It's just going up against the $1 billion, cancer industry. Seems to always lead to a dead end. Run from the cure, i.e. run from the cure, i.e. Rick Simpson. Look it up. Okay, continuing here. On to the most disgusting part of the show, the Epstein files. We got a lot to get to, so grab your barf bags. So guess who's been in charge of textbooks? Well, turns out that whole crew. I know. The media publishers units to merge, McGraw-Hill and Maxwell to merge units. Media lord Robert Maxwell has agreed to combine his educational publishing business with rival McGraw-Hill. McGraw-Hill and Maxwell Macmillan Incorporated would combine their elementary, secondary, and vocational education businesses into a new company, the nation's second largest textbook publisher. Why does education suck? I don't know. Here's a big clue. Your public textbooks are given to you by satanic pedophiles, are published by them. So why does everything suck? I don't know. You tell me. Here's MTG again today. She said, this was 4 days ago. She said, you can't vote your way out of this. That's a former member of Congress, right? The Epstein files are proving it's one big repulsive club, no matter which party is in charge. Indeed. MTG right there. And then take a look at this. This is what we've been talking about. And this is what Trump's God is right here. And so modern Satanism sexed. You got the left wing and the right wing. Left wing politics methods appeal to authority through misplaced compassion and security of common needs, focusing too much on common good at expense of individual rights, hallmarks of right brain dominance imbalance, social manifestations, false notions of equality, democracy, Fabian democratic socialism, communism, the end goal, human slavery. Right-wing politics appeal to authority through selfishness and security of individual desires, focusing too much on selfish concerns at expense of true common good, hallmarks of left brain dominance imbalance, social manifestations, false notions of right, minarchy, limited government, crony capitalism, corporatism, national socialism, fascism. End goal, human slavery. Funny how that works, huh? Pick your side of evil, the left side or the right side, and it all ends in human slavery, you see. Here's old Ben Swan. Remember old Ben Swan? He's a good reporter. He got fired, I think it was CBS, for his report about Pizzagate 10 years ago. And turns out he was 100% accurate. And so that's the way it goes. You report accurately and they fire you. Here's Ben Swan video. He says 10 years ago, well, we'll play the video. It's like 8 minutes. I think it's worth playing here. Tying into Epstein.
Epstein is Pizzagate. Let that sink in for a minute. Jeffrey Epstein is Pizzagate. 10 years ago, Pizzagate was by far the #1 trending topic on Twitter. But the claim of pedophile elites who preyed on children was so insane that Pizzagate was shrugged off as a wild fever dream of a conspiracy theory. I was the first mainstream reporter to dare give the facts surrounding Pizzagate. My corporate career was destroyed over it, so what? My professional reputation was obliterated, that wasn't fun. And I wasn't the only one. Anyone who dared to suggest that this might be true was blacklisted, shadow banned, or thrown off of social media. But then, just days ago, the largest dump of Epstein files revealed what some of us have been telling you for a decade, that Pizzagate is real. Not that there is a pizza parlor at the center of a child trafficking ring, but that child trafficking rings run by some of the most powerful people in the world do exist. Tonight, I want to remind you of what I told you then and compare that to what we have now learned.
Pizzagate. It became a major story weeks ago when an armed man decided to investigate a DC area pizza place for himself. This man right here, he carried a rifle into a pizza parlor and then fired it at the floor. Media is telling you the entire story is a hoax or fake news. But what does that even mean? I spent the last month investigating. So what exactly is Pizzagate?
Well, the story that came to be known as Pizzagate did not begin with a rumor, nor was it created by Macedonian sheep farmers as CNN actually once claimed. It began with WikiLeaks, authentic, verified emails taken from the phone of the chairman of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, John Podesta. Those emails were real. In all these years, by the way, no one has actually disputed that. Inside those emails were communications that struck a lot of people, not just online commentators, but researchers and former law enforcement, as unusual to say the least. References to pizza, and to pizza handkerchiefs, and to maps, to private gatherings involving powerful people, some very bizarre stuff. In fact, the first people to draw attention to those emails were a group of self-proclaimed pedophiles on 4chan and 8chan who claimed that Podesta was using the same terminology that they use to speak in coded language. And in researching those emails, I found a 2010 entry into Urban Dictionary. It's still there, by the way. It confirms that cheese pizza is a commonly coded term for child pornography, CP.
I want you to see these images here. These are the images. Notice this one on the end, the triangle. That image signifies something called boy love. The pizza place next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza, Besta Pizza, well, this was their logo until only a few weeks ago. Clearly you can see that the Besta logo actually contains the same image, I'm going to show you again, as that boy lover image. Interestingly, after Pizzagate investigators pointed this out, Besta Pizza changed their logo, and there it is now. They've removed the triangle.
Yeah, 10 years ago, I was called a dangerous conspiracy theorist and a madman for claiming that pedophiles and possibly even pedophile elites might use coded language, even though it was online pedophiles who said that's exactly what they do. Which brings us back to this new Epstein release, because in it, the word pizza is mentioned 911 times. That's right, 911 times adults are emailing back and forth about slices of pizza and about pizza parties. And the word pizza is often paired with grape soda in bizarre contexts within emails addressed to Epstein by individuals whose names have been mostly redacted. So here's one. Quote, "This is better than a Chinese cookie. Let's go for pizza and grape soda again. No one else can understand." Or this one. "Mr. Epstein would like to see the menu from the pizza place. Could someone send it, please?" Or this one from 2014. "Sit down, because I know you won't believe this. Are you sitting? Jeffrey says he wants to go out to a pizza place with you. He did not mention a particular pizza place, but he knows you are in the know on this," with a little winking emoji. All of the emails that I just shared with you were from 2014, right about the same time period of the John Podesta emails that WikiLeaks published and started the entire Pizzagate saga.
Now let's talk about the Podesta brothers, because remember, it was John Podesta's email that was hacked. In those leaked Podesta emails, John Podesta talks about his close relationship with Dennis Hastert, the former Speaker of the House, who was recently sentenced to 15 months in prison for abusing boys years ago.
Yeah, well, speaking of the Podesta brothers, again, there was no direct evidence of them being involved in child sex trafficking from those emails. But as we pointed out at the time, there was a lot of bizarre communication, including an email from John Podesta to his brother Tony. The subject line, "Last night was fun," and the first line reads, "Still in torture chamber." That email got really no attention 10 years ago, but today, a 2009 email from Jeffrey Epstein is getting a lot of attention, as it asks, "Where are you? You okay? I love the torture video."
To the fallout from the latest release of the Jeffrey Epstein documents, they include communications between the rich and powerful, from the co-owner of an NFL team to billionaires like Elon Musk.
CNN teams are carefully sifting through the largest, and what the Justice Department says is the last, batch of Jeffrey Epstein files.
Friday's release of millions of pages related to Jeffrey Epstein provided a closer look at his connection to world elites from Hollywood to Washington, Wall Street to Buckingham Palace and beyond.
Yeah, well, all those so-called news anchors and their newsrooms for a decade blacklisted this topic. They conditioned you to live in ignorance. They called it a conspiracy. They called me and so many others dangerous for even looking.
For all that is here, there has not been one single public investigation of any of this. Not from local police, not from the FBI, no one. And that has to be the big question. Not for Podesta or for pizza parlor owners, but for law enforcement. Based on what may be or may not be here, the big question is, why hasn't any investigation taken place?
Well, 10 years later, no investigation ever took place. It's a failure of a complicit government and also of a corporate media that didn't just ignore this evil. They helped to cover it up and keep it operating in the shadows. See, by refusing to engage honestly in 2016, by choosing mockery over investigation, by silencing questions instead of asking them, they created the very environment where this evil could thrive. See, they didn't kill bad information as they pretended. They guaranteed it would survive. See, I wasn't censored the way that I was because my reporting was false. I was censored because it was dangerous. Dangerous to narratives, dangerous to reputations, dangerous to a media culture that had grown comfortable acting as a gatekeeper rather than a watchdog. See, the unspoken rule was simple. Some questions are not allowed. Not because they're wrong, no, but because they lead to the truth. And the truth? Pizzagate. At least in the form of a cabal of elites and powerful people who delight in the physical and sexual abuse of children, is real. Remember how we started. Epstein is Pizzagate. But the other reality it's time to accept, Pizzagate is much more and much bigger than just Jeffrey Epstein.
Boom. Probably get banned for that report. And it goes on. We got, oh, don't worry, we got a lot more. Here's a post from Destiny Renendez. We had her on the show probably like 2 years ago about the bats. Anyway, great online researcher here. And she posted on the X that in 2026, victim Katie Johnson testified to the district court for the Central District of California that Trump and Epstein raped and sodomized her when she was 13 years old. Here's the testimony. I don't know, maybe she was lying. She testified in court. That's what happened. Oh, man. It gets me angry. I was cussing yesterday on the show. Actually, I let flying off the handle. It's just like this stuff really makes your skin want to crawl. You know what I mean? Katie was physically beaten, raped, sodomized, according to court documents. It goes on with the abuse. We got a lot more to cover. That's a whole, she put out a big old thread about it, and the details are really enraging. the link for those interested, or you can go to her X account, Destiny Resendez. But the link will be in Weaponized News Substack, and you can go take a look. She posts all the court documents there for everybody to see. It's public information here now. She also made this post. Jared Kushner, Alan Dershowitz, and Jeffrey Epstein were all assets of the FBI, and Acosta was and had told the FBI that Epstein was U.S. intelligence asset and Mossad. Here's the documents proving that. Right here. Right here. From Aaron Day, he says Epstein gave $525,000 to MIT Digital Currency Initiative and paid core developers, Bitcoin core developers, $500,000 to Blockstream. Brock Pierce met him on the island in 2011. Tether printed unbacked dollars for 50% of Bitcoin's 2017 rise. Howard Lutnick manages $130 billion Tether reserves. Bo Hines went from White House to Tether CEO in months. It's dirty. It's real dirty. Here's a comic relief break if we can find any comedy in all of this evil.
Does the White House have a response to these new Epstein emails that show that Trump, he did it? Who? Trump did it. Did what? He did everything you guys are thinking he did. He and Epstein, yeah. Mm-hmm. You're not denying it? Nah, fuck it. And also we killed Epstein to keep him quiet about this whole thing. Which was obviously a waste of time, but, you know. Hindsight's 2020. Hindsight's 2020. Wow, I didn't think you'd come out and Okay, so now that that's out of the way, we're so excited to announce that Trump is going to pardon 5 turkeys this year instead of just 1. But we were just as a kind of joke because he's been doing so much pardoning of like criminals. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's funny. That's turkeys are funny. Just move on. Funny is this Epstein thing. Yeah, nothing's going to happen with that. Trust. But this is above and beyond. Nah, it's not. It's not. But the Democrats, they might... No, they won't. Look, our people are still going to support us no matter what happens. And the Democrats, look at me, and the Democrats are still just going to do infighting about how the progressives aren't trying to understand where the right is coming from enough. And everything's going to go back to normal. So just don't worry about it, you know? Let's just talk turkey. It's better that way. Let's all just talk turkey. Okay? Okay, let's talk turkey. Also, Trump might have gone down on Bill Clinton. Turkey!
Excuse me. We had to have a little comic relief going through all this evil. And yeah, shout out to Eileen. Happy birthday, Eileen. Here is Jay Dyer, Epstein rundown minute clip. Let's hear from Jay Dyer, intrepid researcher, of course, exposing this stuff many, many years ago.
Justin McEffery was recruited into this operation through Ghislaine Maxwell. So Ghislaine learned all of these techniques from her dad. And her dad, Robert Maxwell, who was a very high-powered British intelligence operative who also liaisoned and worked with Israeli intelligence. In fact, he also had connections and helped at times the Soviets. And this is nothing new. This is the double-sided, dual dialectics game that a lot of the people in the espionage and corporate world play. And if you get really deep into the spy literature, what you learn is that it's actually probably Lord Victor Rothschild that was training and teaching Maxwell these techniques. And so Maxwell was kind of put into position in this sort of billion-dollar publishing, industry that he could run, and that became one of the ways that he could, meet people, liaison with other people, and ultimately try to compromise people.
Second largest publishing company of public textbooks is run by these maniacs. We got a problem. Here's I still like Bill Clinton, Trump. Here you go. This guy, because they're in the same secret society, you see, that's what puts all this into proper context, that you will never hear anyone in your Mockingbird fake news media ever put into proper context for you to understand.
NBC News broke the story today. I don't know if you saw it, that the Democrats are already saying, if you bring President Bill Clinton and he has to testify, we're bringing President Trump. What do you say to that?
I think they might say that, you know, but they've already brought me. See, I've been brought. They had me indicted many times. Many times.
And the president had some surprising thoughts about former President Bill Clinton.
It bothers me that somebody's going after Bill Clinton. See, I like Bill Clinton. I still like Bill Clinton.
What do you like about him?
I liked his behavior toward me. I thought he got me. He understood me. You know, he was the one that said very famously that you don't want to run against Trump when there were 18 people. There was 18 people, including me, total. And he kept telling them, you don't want to run against Trump. Run against anyone. Don't run against Trump. And Hillary sort of laughed at him.
Says I still like Bill Clinton. I'm not saying this is real, but okay, we got more serious stuff to. I don't know how anybody could say they still like Bill Clinton, but yet Trump does, doesn't he? There now. Well, Chuck Schumer tried to get the Senate to sue the DOJ for hiding the Epstein files. He needed unanimous consent and almost got it. How could that be? How could that be? Trump told us it's a Democrat problem now. Trump's in the clear. He told us yesterday. Democrats are trying to get more dirt out because they think it's going to implicate Trump.
We are back with some breaking news on Capitol Hill, where just moments ago, Senator Chuck Schumer made an announcement about the Epstein files. Take a look.
Today, I come to the floor to seek unanimous passage of a resolution directing the Senate to sue the Trump administration for violating the Epstein Files Transparency Act. 15 of my Democratic colleagues have joined in co-sponsoring this resolution, and I thank every single one of them for standing firm. I urge my Republican colleagues not to stand in the way today. It's the height of absurdity for Republicans to have supported the Epstein Files Transparency Act, but then go ahead and object to enforcing it. What hypocrisy.
Let's bring in
Yeah, you think? So one guy objected, Republican Senator John Barrasso. Senator John Barrasso is covering up here now, blocking Chuck Schumer's efforts to get everything released there in the Senate to sue the DOJ. Continuing.
This is the end of the Epstein, of your review of the Epstein files. So just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean, they're the men who abused the young women through Epstein's.
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them, right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women. If we learn about information,
I guess those emails are between no one. And we had Maxwell say that they offered secret deals to a bunch of these guys, right? So maybe all that is true. Epstein discussed with an unknown individual that they should ask Bill Gates about how they could get rid of poor people as a whole, i.e., global depopulation agenda. Cool, I'm excited. I've also been thinking a lot about the question that you asked Bill Gates. How do we get rid of poor people as a whole? And I have an answer. Comment regarding that for you. When can I call you today to discuss this? Let's just casually talk about, terminating the world. And World Economic Forum investigates its CEO to clarify his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The World Economic Forum has launched an independent investigation into CEO Borg Brindy, and that's how you say stupid name there, to clarify his relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The investigation follows new documents from the DOJ that revealed he participated in 3 business dinners with Epstein and subsequent email and SMS communications. I'm sure their World Economic Forum internal investigation there will find no wrongdoing. We're at the top of the hour. Let's take our commercial break, and we have more Epstein on the other side here. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com, get yourself some stickers, the holograph sticker, the white background sticker, and the clear sticker. Weaponizednews.com right here. Put it on your laptop, your bumper, your guitar, your work locker, your hard hat. Weaponizednews.com. The link to the store is in the description below this video. Go take a look. We have t-shirts, coffee mugs, baseball caps, custom t-shirts. We got the shirts with the Weaponized News logo on there. Help support independent reporting and analysis brought to you here 5 days a week at Weaponized News. Go to weaponizednews.com. We take donations as well. You can subscribe on our Buy Me a Coffee, on our Substack. We take donations at Buy Me a Coffee in the link below, Cash App, and Bitcoin wallet addresses there for whatever that's worth nowadays, right? Everything's falling off a cliff, it appears here. But we do appreciate all of the subscribers and all of the patrons to the store. Thank you very much for your support. If you can't support us monetarily, simply give us that like, share, subscribe, and push that notification button. Help support independent reporting and analysis brought to you here 5 days a week by Weaponized News. Thank you very much. And with that, we're back for the second half of Weaponized News on this February 5th, 2026, Thursday edition. More Epstein. I know, makes me want to throw up, but we got to do it. We got to do it. This character, Brad Karp, longtime chair of Paul Weiss, just resigned. So there's nothing in there, but it's causing these, quote, elitists to resign all over the world. But no shame here in America still for any politician whatsoever. So this character, I never heard of him, Brad Karp, probably related to the old Palantir dude, right? I don't know. I don't think they're related, but aren't they all related? Isn't the blood the big thing here now for these maniacs? It goes on here. Here's Nancy Mace, Congresswoman. Every single name. If the justice system spent even a fraction of the time it does protecting predators and on protecting victims, we would not be having this problem. And she's talking about this one right here. New Brazilian just arrived. Sexy and cute equals 6 years old. But they don't know at the DOJ because they redacted who this email was from. We know it was to Epstein, but yeah, they redacted it, so we can't figure out who it was from. Right? Yeah. Where we at here? This one. You don't need to be a genius to crack the Epstein code in this email. I ordered sweet young coconuts from Thailand for you, just so you don't have to drink juices from old hairy things. Thor Bjorn Jagland, former Norwegian prime minister and prominent left-wing politician in Europe, is connected to Epstein. Here he is. Yes, terrible times. If Trump wins in U.S., I'll settle on your island. Before that, I'll be in New York in September. A lot of things to talk about. You're a very busy man. Hope to see you soon. I'm sure he doesn't even know who Epstein is, right? There's just an email talking about they're going to hook up. Yeah. Mark Tramo, an associate adjunct professor of neurology at UCLA, is linked to Epstein. It's this character here, and then we'll go to the email so you can see this character. I'm sure he's a great professor at UCLA and cares about the education of the youth. Says, hi, G, thanks for sending Richard Johnson my way. I trust the kind words I shared with him are acceptable to you. If not, please let me know ASAP. I'm on the road. My cell is. They blocked out the cell. If A-OK, then I hope you realize this recognition for all you do for so many of us is, in my opinion, overdue and well-deserved. Cheers, Mark. P.S. Was just reading today that newborns will suck on a pacifier more vigorously if it triggers playback of a recording of his or her mother's voice. I remember reporting on this one yesterday. And so it's this character right here, working in neurology at UCLA, talking about how to trigger a baby's sucking motion. They're listening to a recording of the mother's voice. I'm sure nothing is going on wrong there at all. Harvard professor Steven Pinker, connected to Epstein. This character. Dear Leslie, unfortunately, I'm out of town that day, but if Jeffrey is around on Monday, the 16th, I'll be back and would be delighted to meet with him. You know, I'm sure it was about nothing important, right? Yeah. Because, well, turns out a newly released email shows Steven Pinker, Harvard professor, saying he'd be delighted to meet with Jeffrey Epstein the next time he swung by Harvard. That's another exchange here. In the thread, influential Indian doctor Deepak, how you say his name? Chopra, right? Chopra. This character, he's an intellectual genius, spiritual guru. Turns out he's a child molester, pervert, piece of shit. Here he is. Okay, your girls would love it, as would you. Be well, sending love. Another email chain between Epstein and Chopra surfaced. Epstein emails Chopra something about a location idea, and Chopra replies, okay, your young girls would love it, as would you. Be well, sending love. Epstein shoots back another location. I do not like Aardvark land at all. Epstein and girls in the same phrase, as disgusting as it gets. Epstein, who is revealed to be an extremist Aardvark, he's an Aardvark supremacist, obviously, does not want to go to Aardvark land. What is he hiding? Chopra's been in the files a bunch, but he's, of course, denying everything and pointing the fingers everywhere else. Of course. I'm sure no wrongdoings were going on there. Audio leak shows Epstein and Edmund Barak, former Aardvark prime minister there, talking about Tony Blair's gigantic paydays. A leaked call between Epstein and Barak, who's a former, we just said that, shows him chatting about huge money tied to Tony Blair. Epstein says he keeps hearing gigantic numbers linked to Blair, like 5 million here, 10 million there, 5 million there. Barak pays Blair, says Blair pulls around 11 million a year from Kazakhstan for advice and lobbying work, and they even hint he passes some of it along. Blair's team told Al Jazeera that the numbers are rubbish. Well, if his team said so, I believe him, right? Right. An email mentions a woman who accused cult leader John of God before she later turned up dead in Barcelona. She died by suicide shortly after her accusations helped lead to his arrest. She allegedly said this was happening at Zorro Ranch, and that Epstein even offered her money to take part, calling it birth babies for black market use. Birth babies for black market use for a man already known for some of the darkest crimes imaginable. Every new file somehow makes him look even worse. It's the sort of thing that makes you think we're still nowhere near the bottom of this. You don't say. Here's that email. Spoke of this going on at Zorro Ranch. She has said on record that Epstein offered her money to do this. Birth babies for black market use. In 2019, Epstein had just been released from serving 13 months in a Florida jail for soliciting prostitution from a child. Mendelsohn, old shamed UK politician there, Mendelsohn, and we covered yesterday the falling out going on there. Mendelsohn lied and said he didn't talk to him after his conviction. He did, right? Mendelsohn said, "How is Freedom feeling?" "She feels fresh, firm, and creamy." Mendelsohn replied, "Naughty boy." Here's that email. So all these freak shows know exactly what they're talking about in their cute little coded language. Stallmer, here's from Stallmer. He's shaken up. The Fabian socialist here is going to get justice for us somehow. Let's hear a little bit from Stallmer, still shaken up about the Mendelsohn revelations.
What has come to light has raised serious questions. Information that was not known at the time of his appointment. Before he was appointed ambassador, Mandelson was asked directly about the nature of his relationship with Epstein. He was asked whether he had stayed at Epstein after his conviction. And when later further information came to light, he was asked whether he had accepted gifts and hospitality, about whether he had been fully transparent about the relationship. The information now available makes clear that the answers he gave were lies. He portrayed Epstein.
Fake outrage there from Keir Starmer. Of course, he knew he was tied up in it. He would never even been in that position in the first place to be appointed to any position of political authority in the UK if he wasn't part of the secret society. So save your fake outrage, bud. The jig's up, bud. Epstein was assessed with tunnels where we've seen the Aardvark tunnels there in New York. Remember that whole scandal underneath the synagogue there in New York? Well, it turns out they're big into tunnels. Epstein was obsessed with the tunnels under Little St. James, constantly demanding work on them from 2009 until 2 months before his arrest. Hollywood publicist Peggy Siegel casually asked him in 2018 if his staff still sleeping. Is his staff still sleeping in the tunnels like it was totally normal? Investigators also found a mysterious trap door on the island, but didn't know if it was connected to the tunnels. What the hell else is happening underneath the island in these tunnels? Here's the island. Here's the trap door to the tunnels. And there you go. There's the email from his Hollywood publicist, Peggy Siegel. So they all knew damn well what the hell was going on. Here's video. Epstein files contain a 2-hour video showing 2 men inspecting underground tunnels, one wearing a New York City department shirt. Oh, you don't say. Here's a cut of that. Let's watch the video about the tunnels. Of course, it's not the 2-hour. This is a 2-minute. We'll see how much we can get out of this. No audio, I don't believe. But these are they do love their subterranean tunnels for smuggling and purposes. No audio, inspecting the tunnels. Going into the tunnels. It's kind of boring. It's just videos of underground tunnels. But it's all a Democrat hoax, so we probably have nothing to worry about. That's what Trump has told us. Despite polling files, DOJ, Epstein database still leaking victims' nude photos. So they're bending over backwards to protect the victims by redacting a bunch of information, but they're also simultaneously at the Department of Justice doxing the victims because they care about the children so freaking much. The U.S. Justice Department pushed out Epstein records with sloppy redactions that revealed names, faces, phone numbers, and nude photos of victims. So good job there. And that's a report out of the Associated Press. So, yeah, we know they care so freaking much that it makes you want to throw up. But they've actually doxed the victims here now. Hillary Clinton, Bill's wife, says she wants a public hearing, not just closed door deposition in the House Oversight Committee's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, accusing Republicans of turning the probe into a political distraction. There you go. It's just a political distraction, you see, according to former Senator and Secretary of State and First Lady. And many argue first female president shadowing her husband, Bill Clinton. The real brains behind the operation there, Hillary. On to geopolitical news now. Went through a lot of these characters. There's still a whole lot more. I mean, it's a lot of data they dumped. And we're still waiting for the other half of it. Sadly, Chuck Schumer lost today, getting blocked. We probably will never see the second half as the DOJ continues to dox victims and scream law and order, and we care about children. That's where we're at here, and no one in America has gotten in trouble. Has anybody? I don't think anybody. Maybe that one reporter dude was forced to resign. Some of these characters, I guess Larry Summers is on leave from Harvard. And I just let it blow over. Come on back. The tunnels are still here for you. You know what I mean? It's just get the freaking wood chipper. Get the wood chipper fired up. Okay, on the geopolitical section of the show. So, hey, big revelations have come about the last couple of weeks here now at the World Economic Forum, at the World Governments Summit. We've been reporting here at Weaponized News for over 2 years now. We're in a new era, a new world order. All that's come out. J.D. Vance said it yesterday. They're creating an American technate here in America. 85% of the rest of the world, i.e. the global south, has had enough of U.S. hegemony. We're seeing dramatic shifts in the world order here now. What's going to go on with Iran? Are the Epstein revelations enough to cause, and the economy too, by the way, is in the shit can. Is all this negative going on here in America, domestic issues, is that enough to cause a wag the dog scenario and a full-on attack against Iran? We're still waiting. They're saber rattling like crazy, both sides, all sides. The war drums have been beating, right? All this positioning of U.S. military assets all over the place there. Iran built their damn country around all our military bases. That should have everybody pissed off. Iran has deployed its advanced ballistic missile system to newly unveiled underground missile bases. They're saying that their ballistic missiles can have a range of 2,000 kilometers and a 1,500 kilogram warhead on them, and a 30-mile accuracy. The missile is a key element of Iran's active deterrence. They put out a video of it. Here it is. So everybody is saber rattling. Here's Iran's war propaganda about their ballistic missiles.
زمان بدان در رو تمام شده است. عملیات جلی که موشک ناخدان خیبر
Enough of that. It don't even look real anyway. They're putting it out there, a threat essentially, but saying it's for a defense deterrence, of course. And then here is, we're in a war with Iran. Make no mistake about it. We've launched the first strikes economically. They've sent in shock troops on the ground to try to overthrow the regime. So we're in a war with Iran right now. It hasn't launched. We haven't hit them with the B-2 stealth bombers yet, but we're this freaking close. We're this close. Here's Scott Bassett on, he says, we created a dollar shortage in the country. It's a full-on economic attack with a weaponized dollar.
The Treasury, and what we have done is created a dollar shortage in the country. At a speech at the Economic Club of New York in March, I outlined the strategy. It came to a swift and I would say grand culmination in December when one of the largest banks in Iran went under. There was a run of the bank. The central bank had to print money. The Iranian currency went into free fall. Inflation exploded, and hence we have seen the Iranian people out on the street. We will continue monitoring all the partners, all the Iranian partners. The good news, Senator, is that we have seen, and we can see it with our fencing.
We're in a war with Iran right now. He just admitted that we collapsed their currency with a weaponized dollar. Allegedly, they're having, well, it was reported on again, off again yesterday. Hopefully, they're going to have talks tomorrow and simmer down the war drums, and we don't see a major escalation leading to a regional and then world war, which all this can easily spiral into here now. Trump endorses Japanese Prime Minister. Says the great country of Japan is having a very important because they're having the snap election, right? Snap election is going to be February 8th, this Sunday. We're going to have to follow that. We'll report on Monday the results. The results of this election are very important to the future of Japan, and Trump's endorsing the snap election. They're called by the Prime Minister. We'll follow up on that and give you the results on Monday. The United States is the most powerful country in the world. This is what Trump has posted here. I'll post it on his Truth Social. He says, I completely rebuilt its military in my first term, including new and many refurbished nuclear weapons. All this is and then put this in the context of Trump's a good Christian at the National Prayer Breakfast. Tell me more about that bullshit. You know what I mean? I also added Space Force and now continue to rebuild our military at levels never seen before. We are even adding battleships, which are 100 times more powerful than the ones that roamed the seas during World War II, the Iowa, Missouri, Alabama, and others. I've stopped nuclear wars from breaking out across the world between Pakistan and India, Iran, and Aardvark land, Russia, and Ukraine, rather than extend New START, a badly negotiated deal by the United States that, aside from everything else, is being grossly violated. We should have our nuclear experts work on a new, improved, and modern treaty that can start long into the future, that can last long into the future. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Our nuclear treaty with Russia expired. New START, kind of a big deal. Who cares about that, right? We don't need no stinking treaties about nukes. 35 countries, including the United States and China, out of 85 countries attending the REAIM summit about AI, opt out of signing the Joint Declaration Pledge on Responsible Military AI Use, according to a report out of Reuters. So China, America, don't want to sign the pledge for responsible military AI use. but we have brought about peace to the world, you see. This on again, off again from Trump. I have had very productive discussions with Keir Starmer about the island of Diego Garcia. And so UK was going to give it away. Now they're not. Maybe they still will. I don't know. That's going back and forth. Oh, we're still bombing the hell out of Syria. We're bombing the hell out of Syria. CENTCOM says it launched 5 strikes against ISIS in Syria within 1 week within the last week, between January 7th and February 2nd. We're still getting those dirty ISIS that are radicalized and created by Western intelligence. We got to get them, you see. The boogeyman is there as we bomb the hell out of Syria continually. Jared Kushner, who we all voted for, and Witkoff just landed in Qatar for U.S.-Iran nuclear talks. U.S.-Iran nuclear talks kick off in Oman tomorrow morning. So the fate of the world here hinges on these two characters negotiating on our behalf. They're not negotiating on our behalf. They're negotiating on behalf of their secret society clubs, right? And who's going to benefit them and how's it going to benefit them? They're not negotiating on our behalf, even though we voted for Jared Kushner. I still have my doubts that he represents me, as should you. Yeah, U.S.-Russia nuclear arms treaty just expired. The New START. Who needs a nuclear arms treaty? You know what I mean? That's so 50 years ago. So they will be negotiating that as well. Try to have a nuclear arms treaty with Russia. I don't know. Maybe we should. Just saying. Could be a good thing. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner negotiated on the sidelines of Ukraine talks in Abu Dhabi. However, officials say any agreement must be, quote, a handshake, good faith deal, since legal extensions of New START are no longer possible by law. So they're already negotiating, which is good. U.S. and Russia are closing in on an informal agreement. We need it in freaking writing, not a handshake between Kushner that we all voted for and Witkoff and the old Russian representative Kilnov, or however you say his name. We kind of need it in writing. Just saying. Like, it matters, but it would be a little bit better than just a good faith handshake deal behind the freaking barn or in the trafficking tunnels. You know what I mean? Okay. Argentina here now. When aardvarks are not burning down half the country, we're looking to do a trade. We signed a trade deal with them here now. This is from the United States Trade Representative Office. They say, well, let me put this on the screen for you, and you could see our close relationship there now with Argentina. Argentina provides preferential market access for U.S. exports, U.S. motor vehicles, U.S. medicines and medical devices, U.S. chemicals and machinery, U.S. agricultural products, and U.S. information technology products. So they're getting Americanized there in Argentina, very much so. And we do appreciate their leader, Milei, converting to aardvarkism. We wouldn't have it any other way, you see. On to Cuba. Here's Bobblehead Levitt talking about Cuba. We're just waiting for Cuba to fall as oil, gasoline, fuel has been cut off to them. So the government is being heavily pressured here now through energy sanctions and outright embargo launched by America against Cuba, because we need Cuba to be part of the American technate.
Cuban leader Miguel Díaz-Canel said today that Cuba would be willing to engage in dialogue with the United States only without pressure, without preconditions, on equal footing and with respect for sovereignty. But his government is denying what President Trump said, that they're already holding talks. How would you respond to that?
I think the fact that the Cuban government is on its last leg and its country is about to collapse, they should be wise in their statements directed towards the President of the United States. But as I just reiterated, the President...
White House says Cuba's ready to collapse. Cuba's president, Miguel Díaz-Canel, he says, what right, and I would play it for you, but it's in Spanish. Anyhow, I'll just read it to you, what he had to say about all this. He says, what right does any nation have to prevent fuel from reaching another country? Well, we have the right because we got the big gun, bud. Don't you know? This is gangster capitalism now. We're in a new world order. Somebody needs to tell Cuba. I think he knows. Anyhow, he goes on to say, this is not only an action against Cuba and the Cuban people. How many countries are being prevented from maintaining normal trade relations with Cuba because of this? How many companies and institutions are being harmed? Does this not violate international law and the Charter of the United Nations? That don't play anymore, bud. As if it ever even did in the first place, but it definitely don't play now. Does this not contradict the principles of free trade that capitalism and imperialism claim to defend? It sure does, bud. Somebody needs to get this guy a copy of old Smedley Butler's Wars of Racket so he could understand that this is straight up gangster capitalism. And beyond that, who do they think they are to impose this on us? Well, we got the big gun, bud. Is there any trace of humanism, of decency, sensitivity, or dignity in acting this way? No. Don't you understand? I think he does. I think he understands exactly who he's dealing with. Trump on Greenland. Again, Cuba, Greenland, Venezuela. We need all this for the American technate, you see. All this is the American technate for our region of the one world government scientific dictatorship. Here's Trump on Greenland. That's gonna happen. They're going to make it happen. They're telling us one way or another.
And I called this gentleman from, I think, Denmark. Can you believe? They own a large piece of ice that we're negotiating for. It's the biggest piece of ice in the world. The world's largest piece of ice. They'll never run out of water. But I called the president, I called the various people, but the head of the Olympic Committee, very nice guy.
Yeah, there wasn't much there. But it's still ongoing here. Here's Trump talking about the alleged directed energy weapons that were used in Venezuela. He calls them discombobulator and says he's not allowed to talk about it. This is from a NBC interview from yesterday, I believe.
You talked about the weapon, the discombobulator.
Yeah,
what is
discombobulator? Well, I'm not allowed to talk about it.
But what does it do?
Let me just tell you, you know what it does? None of their equipment works. That's what it does. Everything was... It was my name. I'm very proud of the name. Everything was discombobulated. It was, practically a shot wasn't... they were ready.
Right.
And when we came, they couldn't do anything.
You saw this on the video. You could tell.
Tom, it discombobulated everything.
Nothing worked, even including humans.
Well, let's put it this way. We lost no equipment in a very strong, and they're good fighters, great fighters. In a very bad environment, it was a military base, the biggest in South America. Because the house was in a base in in a very, very tough environment, we lost no men, and we lost no equipment.
The discombobulator just knocked everything.
Well, it did.
So there you go. Very technical explanation of what happened in Venezuela from Trump. It was the discombobulator, you see. On to World Governments Summit. The future of media is rapidly shifting toward a model where the identity, reputation, and perceived authenticity of the speaker hold more weight than the content itself. That's what this woman had to say there. Is that true, audience out there? Maybe. I don't know. For me, no, it's the content still matters to me. And I'm having a real hard time believing a whole lot out there nowadays. You know what I'm saying? The future will be more about who says it instead of what is said. Yeah, I'm not really, not for me personally. Maybe for a lot of people out there. It was big AI at the World Governments Summit. Big AI is going to be everything to everyone, except for those whose job it took. And then you could be fed to the meat grinder and some more, or, just depopulated. Bill Gates still running around, by the way. The AI-powered transformation of the energy sector. This guy's speaking in Arabic, or I would have played it for you. Sorry. Anyhow, that's what the CEO of Dubai Electricity and Water Authority had to say in one of these sessions. And so they're talking about automating everything with AI. That's the wave of the future. They keep telling us. What if artificial intelligence became a leadership decision maker that influences policy, resources, and the way governments operate? Would our world be better? This guy too. Sorry about that. It's all in Arabic. Or I'd play you the video of them talking about it. I don't even say who this character is. Anyhow, very AI heavy. They're at the World Governments Summit. This guy said that, but it's in Arabic, so we're not going to play that. And I don't think that did it have subtitles? I didn't even have subtitles on that one, so we're not playing that one. The rise. Okay, I think this one's in English. We can play this one. The rise of AI agents marks a turning point for work and economies as machines take on execution and people focus on higher value work. So this is what they're all pitching over there at the World Governments Summit.
What is the future when you think about AI? Are we all going to be using super apps on our mobile devices, or are we going to be dealing with a bunch of agents? We'll see more and more agents that can do the work for you, as opposed to having apps where you're doing most of your own work. I'm going to predict that next year, this wrap-up is going to be done by an agent who's going to come on the screen and just summarize for you and actually talk to you and allow you to maybe talk to it.
Remember that prediction, and we'll have to remember that for next year. This guy's saying he won't have a job as a presenter, and AI is going to do it. Does that click? Maybe. I guess not. He's like, I got tunnels to go. I got tunnels to go investigate. More about this. Who's this character? Yeah, just more about AI. The CEO of Dubai Electricity and Water Authority confirmed during his participation in the World Governments Summit that artificial intelligence is the driver of transformation in the energy sector and the growth of the sustainable economy in a market expected to reach $4.8 trillion by 2033. By 2033, you see. Global connectivity underpins every layer of digital economy as 6G standards move toward finalization by 2028. The strategic question is, will next-gen networks reinforce global connection or deepen technological fragmentation? Are we going to, when they do the big rollout of 6G, are we going to see everybody get the flu again? Right? That's my question.
We are a pioneer in telecoms. In the region, we were the first to launch 3G technology, 4G technology, 5G technology. We're working with multiple groups to develop the standards for 6G. A lot of things that we thought were science fiction ended up being reality. I think the same way that the current generation, our digital natives, are able to use the mobile and the computer normally, they need to learn how to use AI properly. So if you can use these tools to their full capacity, you will succeed, you will prosper. If you fall behind, especially if your expertise is in an area that is repetitive, that can be replaced by AI, it's time to start looking for what you want to do next.
Yeah. Okay, who's this guy? This is Professor David Sinclair, Professor, Department of Genetics. He says, out of I can't even pronounce it, Blavatnik Institute. He says it's not just the eye that can get reversed and cured of disease, it's seemingly every part of the body. It's talking about transhumanism, I believe, here now. We're not going to get any access to this life extension technology, but all of these characters are. Better believe it. Better believe it. Paul Merlan, demographer and author, during the he discussed the problem is not that older people are living longer. That's a marvelous thing we should celebrate. It's the fact that cohort after cohort is simply not having enough kids. He's talking about population decline here. He says living standards, health, education, and longevity all improved as the global population expanded. More people meant more ideas, more innovation, and more use of finite resources. Always back to the finite resources. Here he says the population pyramid, once broad at the base with young people, is inverting. Everything is inverting here now. Let's hear from him. It's professor on demographics again.
In Korea, which is an extreme example, a cohort of 100 people has so few children that the next cohort that they produce will be barely 40 people, and the cohort that they produce will be barely 16 people. An 84% decline in population in just 2 generations. Korea represents a very good example of what's going on. You can see the population pyramid of Korea as it develops. First, with large number of young people, but as the young people grow older and don't have children of their own, what we call the population pyramid becomes inverted. The problem is not that older people are living longer. That's a marvelous thing we should celebrate. It's the fact that cohort after cohort is simply not having enough kids.
I'm surprised we didn't hear massive applause, because that's exactly what all these quote elitists want, right? They've already said, We're getting rid of the majority of you here now. You're going to be replaced with AI and humanoid robots. Everything, the global depopulation agenda is going very well. It's going very well for them. Now 6G is rolling out. Yeah, 6G. Will that be the cause of the next fake pandemic? May very well be. Some of the benefits that we'll get from 6G are ultra low latency and super fast speeds. 6G will use other spectrum bands, integrate more with direct-to-device satellites, and much more. And so this is very exciting. They're talking about the rollout of 6G, zapping everybody with even more electromagnetic radiation, frequency radiation there, EMF radiation. And so we do look forward to that, of course, because nothing bad could ever come from any of these technologies. By 2028, 6G standards finalized, and then everybody's favorite year to complete the UN agenda for the goals for sustainable development, 2030, testing phase, post-testing phase, gradual rollout. And so wouldn't it be exciting to have all this zapping us all day, every day? Pretty rad, huh? Pretty rad, dude. Well, it's coming. It's coming. How AI data and collaboration between governments and global brands define decision making. So I thought I would play this one because it is, and a big part about the social engineering that the social engineer controllers use is through the fashion industry. And here's Hugo Boss talking about straight up fascism. And so it's very nice. And we all do appreciate the Nazis outfits, the black leather. They're produced by Hugo Boss. And so they did dress very snazzy there in Germany during World War II. And so here he is casually talking about fascism, how wonderful it all is.
Everybody talks about AI. Everybody talks about collaborations, possible collaborations in the country and as a brand, and how government and brands can work more together. Our mission is become a tech-driven fashion platform, and we implemented data already 5 years ago. We started to gather data, or actually we built up a digital campus in Portugal, where we today working about 250 people doing nothing else than gathering data, analyzing data, and implementing data into the company. And not only data from our store, also AI data. So we combine AI with our own data, and that comes out then.
Hugo Boss, the governments need to support brands. Here's the wrap-up video they put out from the World Government Summit. This year's summit brought clarity to how governments act at scale with a focus on execution, institutional strength, global coordination, i.e. conspiracy, and the forces shaping the future of governance. Are governments ready to lead at scale? Here's the wrap-up video of the World Governments Summit Meeting 2026. So there you go. There's all the, not all of them, but a whole lot. Here's your corporate one world government working with NGOs, the United Nations, and all these private companies, i.e. global corporate fascism. Here's their logos. So you probably should remember these characters. There they are. There they are. Here's your global corporate governance structure and all the governments and different NGOs and United Nations partners and different spin-offs and all this. You can see all right here proudly displaying their logos and all of those people working together on one world government conspiracy to enslave us all and depopulate to a manageable level, i.e. Georgia Guidestones. Denver mentions here that note Hugo Boss was an active member of the Nazi Party from 1931 and remained so until Nazi Germany's capitulation. So there you go. He should be praised, right? How's that guy walking around talking about government should support brands? You know what I mean? But it's where we're at. It's where we're at. Don't be a Nazi. It's not a good look. Even hey, nobody could. Nazis have a keen fashion sense, though, right? The black leather did look good. A little turn off the death heads on their little caps, right? That's like kind of a little creepy, but they did have a sharp fashion there for the to carry out World War II at the very least. Okay. And yeah, Hugo Boss company allowed to run around and call for fascism still to this day. And no one even bats an eye. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Okay, on to Aardvark land genocide. Yeah, they're still whacking the hell out of them, stacking bodies over there. Turns out, what was this report from earlier today? Aardvark Land Army says they identified a potential terrorist that was approaching the yellow line, and the terrorist was eliminated. There's more. The Gaza Ministry of Health says in the Gaza Strip, it announced that 54 bodies of Palestinians killed, along with 66 boxes containing human remains and body parts, arrived at the Al Sharif Medical Complex after being released by the Aardvark Occupation Forces via the International Committee of Red Cross. The ministry said specialized medical teams are continuing to handle the remains in accordance with approved medical procedures and protocols in coordination with official authorities and relevant committees in participation for completing examinations, documentation, identification, and handing the bodies over to their families. Bibi, shadow president of America, said the Egyptian army is growing stronger. We have relations and interest with Egypt, so we must keep a very close watch to prevent excessive buildup. So I'm glad Bibi's keeping an eye on the Egyptian military there, keeping the world safe. Satellite images and witness testimony indicate Aardvark land forces bulldoze sections of Gaza War Cemetery in Al-Tafah, Gaza City, damaging graves of British, Australian, and other Allied soldiers from the First and Second World Wars. Imagery shows gravestones removed, soil churned up, earth beams built with heavy machinery. Changes that appeared between March and August last year. The IDF said the site was an active combat zone. That's a report out of The Guardian. So desecrating the graves of their allies there. and we wouldn't have it any other way from the aardvarks. You know what I mean? I'm sure UK and Australia just love it. I'm sure they love having their soldiers' graves desecrated there. And you have Canadian UN plot and Indian plots as well, and Turkish memorial there as well, as you can see right here. And so, yeah, there's no depravity aardvarks won't go to, you see. No level of depravity. Aardvark land arrests 2 citizens suspected of spying for Iran. Authorities worried about broader pattern of espionage. Aardvark authorities have arrested 2 citizens in their 20s on suspicion of spying for Iran. Officials said today the arrest, carried out in January of this year, followed a joint investigation by the Judea and Samarian District Police and Shin Bet. Details were released with court authorization under a publication ban. The Jerusalem area suspects are accused of maintaining direct contact with Iranian intelligence operatives over several months and carrying out security-related tasks under their direction, receiving payments via digital wallets. Prosecutors filed statements of evidence today with formal indictments expected soon. Authorities said the case reflects a broader pattern of attempts to recruit aardvark citizens for missions threatening national security. This character, U.S. anti-Semitism czar Rabbi Kaploon, says he enjoys getting government to bend to his will by using Gentile or not so Gentile persuasion. Let's hear from this character. He's yielding the power of the U.S. federal government to serve his aardvark ends, you see, and we should all praise him for doing as such.
Affect policy and use quiet diplomacy to get results. And that, since I've been in this role, has been really something that I would say I've enjoyed being able to do, is the quiet effectiveness of affecting change with certain governments and certain policies of people who have said, oh, we're not going to do something, but yet with some gentle persuasion, or maybe not so gentle persuasion, the power of the American government in representing, the President of the United States, and they realizing that these policies are not acceptable to the American government, to the Secretary, or to the President, or to Treasury, or to Commerce, wherever it might be, does have an effect.
There you go. I'm glad the anti-Semitism czar there's yielding the full weight and power of the U.S. government to carry out the aardvark agenda. Warms my heart. ZBS News, under their self-described Zionist fanatic editor-in-chief Barry Weiss, has run multiple pieces suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein was a Russian asset. Well, what the hell? I guess Epstein was a Russian.
Poland.
Just like the President Scheinbaum of Mexico is a Latina, you see. I know, it's confusing world out there.
Says it's looking into possible connections between convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and Russian intelligence services. The announcement came after the U.S. Justice Department last week released millions more files related to the federal investigation into Epstein. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said Tuesday, quote, more and more leads, more and more information, and more commentary in the global press all relate to the suspicion that this unprecedented pedophilia scandal was co-organized by Russian intelligence services.
I guess we're wrong. And Epstein was working for Russia this whole time. Who knew? We thought he was working for Western intelligence. Turns out, according to ZBS News, he's a Russian spy. Who knew? Aardvark warplanes continue to bomb the hell out of southern Lebanon every day. They're bombing the hell out of Lebanon. But then we have a ceasefire, you see. A couple more reports. Last report here, actually, and we'll wrap up this broadcast. China, Beijing reportedly halts all investment in aardvark land as Kibbutz sues Chinese fund. Members of aardvark land Kibbutz settlement located in the north have filed a lawsuit demanding $11 million from the Chinese-controlled investment fund Ballet Vision, accusing it of refusing to buy their remaining stake in the Haneda lenses factory, despite a contractual obligation. According to Ynet report published 3 days ago, the lawsuit was filed in a Tel Aviv district court and centers on the operation granted to the settlement to compel Ballet Vision to purchase the remaining shares by December of last year. The fund currently controls about 80% of the company, which manufactures in-ocular lenses for medical use. And so, yeah, sue China. I think that's all we got. Let's see. Yeah, China labels aardvark land investments, quote, high risk area in a report out of China. So that's part of why all this has come about. And with that, that's all we got on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. Let's go to the channels quickly. We'll take a look at Odysee. Who do we have in the chats? We have John in the chat. Thank you for chatting there, John. John says, let's see. He says, please reveal which platform gives your station the greater amount from subscriptions, memberships, and or, yeah, it's kind of confusing. I will tell you which one's the best to use. If you care to give us a paid subscription, that would be wonderful. Let me figure that out. What's the best value for everybody? Your end, my end, all ends, right? A win-win, as China would say. Win-win, win-win. Everything's win-win. Washington was a Freemason, so he must have been praying to Lucifer. Trump is another Freemason and a Chabadnik, the group that plans to terminate all Goy in the world and prepare for their Messiah. Yeah, they don't seem that bad, John. What? Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it seems very bad, actually. That's what they're up to. That's what they're up to. Is the fraud in Maine related to some some invaders? Yeah, it is. It's in the entire system. You mentioned suppressed cancer cures. I know of one. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot out there. Not giving medical advice, just saying. In mainstream news reports, like I read the news every day almost here, right? So you start noticing they're like, oh, here's a cure for this kind of cancer, or great hope in treatment. It's looking good. And then like you never hear about it again. You know what I mean? And it's like constant. Every couple months, actually, you see these stories, just a blip on the radar, and like, shut up, take your chemo. You know what I mean? Let's see, Sam with the 6G. I think they can mimic Ebola. Think of the most evil thing you can imagine, and the perpetrators of this ongoing democide have something even more cruel planned. Indeed, they can probably mimic. Who knows what they can even? They're very extremely advanced, right? And we know that none of this EMF is good for you, depending on the dosage and so on. There are many variables involved in all this calculation about how really bad it is for your health. But indeed, I'm sure they have Many wicked plans for 6G. Many wicked. And it may mirror the symptoms of Ebola even, where they just zap you and you start bleeding out of all your orifices. You know what I mean? And they're like, well, there you go. Another Ebola victim. Take your miracle. So we know the routine by now, I think. So we have that to look forward to in the very near future as we are racing to fulfill UN Agenda 2030 goals for sustainable development. We have that to look forward to here now in the very near future. Thank you for chatting it up and your comments on the Odysee, John. And I will sort that out. And that is a good idea, by the way, about what's the best value subscription out there. I'll figure that out for you. I was playing the game of your shadow band here, your band there. You know what I mean? Of just every shotgun blasted out everywhere. The Weaponized News broadcast, you know what I mean? And see what takes, because it's like the whack-a-mole, right? The whack-a-mole game. Your band there. You're outright deleted there on that platform. Your shadow band here. You're throttled there. You know what I mean? It's like jump every. So I'm trying to fire a shotgun to cover as much ground as I possibly can, is why it's like kind of chaotic going through it all. But that is good advice to boil it all down for everybody. Even though I don't like centralization, but I'll have to come up with some type of structure to give everybody a better understanding, and myself actually as well. What's the most value we can give each other here? So thank you for that advice and idea, John, on the Odysee. Okay, over to thank you everybody for tuning in on X, Twitch, Kick, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. Got cut off. Oh, I don't know what that was all about. Sorry about that. Yeah, thanks everybody. Denver, Denver on the Goss, Denver. Who else? Fat Bob. I see in the comments. Of course, again, Chloe, happy birthday to you out there. Stay warm, please. On the Rumble, thank you guys for keeping that chat lively. And then on the YouTube, who do we have over there? We had John, we had Eileen, we had Mac. Thank you guys for chatting that, keeping that chat going, keeping it lively. And with that, I'm going to sign off on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. As always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Thursday evening. We'll be back here on Friday for more